Monday, and you tuned into MyStockScanner Live. A fresh week, fresh headlines, and new opportunities. Let's run today's stock through the 3-point playbook, where we ask the same questions as we always do. Is it a quality stock? Does it have an upside? And is the timing right? Hans-Henrik Nielsen, Liam Flavel, those are the two investing experts here on our program. Stock expertise stemming back to 1987 and fintech insider knowledge galore combined. My name is Jesper Behrens. I'm the man with the questions, and some of them could be yours if you write us an email, fomo@mystockscanner.com. But first, Hans-Henrik, give us the headlines for this morning's the market scan that you put out every morning just before 9 o'clock in Denmark.
Oh, there was a lot to get around, but the main part was a reopening of US, the government shutdown, and of course something about the stimulus checks that Trump talked about.
Yeah, they're looming out there in the future. Maybe we will talk about them later in the program. Liam, you get a tough question to start out the show this morning. Let's talk Novo, because everybody's talking Novo. Is this the week where it all calms down and the stocks start to lift off again?
It could well be. It's hit a point where it's bounced previously, so who knows? I mean, it's been a falling knife for what, 6 months, 8 months now, probably even longer than that. So it's not something we take a guess at.
No, but we will be talking more about Novo as always. Today is Monday. That means that we open up the 3-point playbook. I can tell you that it sits at 31.15 year to date, and that's the upside. Some movements in the playbook last week. We will we'll have a look at some of them. Also on the flight schedule is in this show, IAG, International Airline Group. Amongst those that it covers is British Airways. And they had a bit of a Friday. We'll get to talk a little bit about that. And the stock is on 3 different exchanges here in Europe, 11.5% down on Friday. And is the US government going to open as Hans-Henrik said it? And will Trump dole out a check to all Americans? We shall see. It's an action-packed 25 minutes that we have ahead. And we also have number of the day. It stands at 132 days. That's the number. I'm sure by probably 10 p.m. tonight, it'll be 133 days. What it's all about, I'll tell you later. But first, let's get to it. And Hans-Henrik, you are better up in that sense that I'm going to give you a number that you said to me before the show in regards to this stock. That number is 440. That is the level on the Danish Stock Exchange where you will be looking at Novo Nordisk. Why 440?
Yeah, I know people will be a bit offended by that. I'm fairly certain, but let me just show you my logic here. First of all, Novo have been in the there have been a lot of news right now, and the latest is that the Norwegian Wealth Fund will not support the vote for shifting out on the board and everything. So it is a bit chaotic right now. And I know when you asked me this morning, where would I consider buying Novo, you got a bit of a shock when I said 440, because 440 is up in this area here. And we are right now around 300. So what is the logic? Well, we're looking at the black line here. That is what is called a 200-day moving average. It's just the average price every day calculated 200 days back. First of all, many people would say, well, this is 50% away from the current price. That's way too high. Then the race has passed and you have lost all your profit. Let me just scroll back time a bit and look back here when Novo were, let's just say back here when they were at 140. If I would have taken a 50% gain here, that would have been the stock going up to around 204. Should I not have taken it there because it had gone up 50%, then I would have lost all the way from 200 and up to 1,000. That is 500% or a 5x. So my logic here, first of all, don't be afraid of buying a stock that already went up 50%. But the other thing is, I'll not buy it right now. What will probably happen over the next time is that this 200-day moving average will just slowly move downwards. And sometimes in the spring, I'm pretty sure that I will get the opportunity to get in. Price will start to move a bit, and at some point it will come up, it will bounce on the 200-day moving average. So I will probably enter Novo around 350, 360, 370 in that area. It is good value. It is a solid company. So we'll be patient and wait and see.
But the thing is that it seems like Novo is just in a trend right now that it hardly can break. When I look at today's price, we're looking at hovering just under 300. That looks like that's a limit now for it. It can't break 300.
Now, what happens when a stock has fallen a lot is that all the big players in the market are they're trying to wrap their head around what is a new fair value. Up here, it was definitely 1,800, 900 is a fair value. And people didn't believe it, and they weren't shocked when it dropped and dropped and dropped. Right now, what we often see at least is that when stocks have dropped this much, they will take some time just hovering around in an area down here. That could be for 3 months, it could be for a year, but that is kind of a basing pattern. And that it's a mental game basically. So people start to say, okay, 300 to 350, that is the new normal. And then we build from there. So no one can say where it will go. It might go to 200 or 100, but then we'll look for a basing pattern there. We have no idea where it goes.
One thing that they can't control either is, of course, the press that they get. And it seems like they can't break the pattern among the press as well. It seems like just one bad story after another. In that sense, is that also something that will affect the market, that the news stream seems to not be positive for them?
It is some, but it was worse back here when we were 1,000. We looked at the valuation graph at that point and we said Novo is priced for perfection, meaning that even the slightest bad story would put a downwards pull on the market. Right now, I wouldn't say that a bad story it could be Eli Lilly coming out with a weight loss drug that was twice as effective or whatever. That could be something that their weight loss pill will be delayed or something like that. That could be something, but in my opinion, the majority of the bad news has been priced in.
We shall see. Only the future can tell us what is going to happen, and we will, of course, keep an eye out for Novo. It is, after all, a stock that I'm almost going to say that every day has. It's definitely close to it. If we look at this week's earnings, it's busy on the Danish Stock Exchange in that sense that we have NTG Transport today, Scandinavian Tobacco tomorrow, FL Smith on Wednesday, along with MT Highguard and Matas, Lundbeck and Unibrew, Alcabello, Sealand, Bavarian. It is busy, and we will get to talk about those stocks in the future. Right now, we're going to open up our 3-point playbook. As I said in the beginning of the program, we're looking at 31.15, and I'm seeing smiles, that's for sure, amongst our two guys here on the show. Biggest one from Liam, because you're the one who's up now. 31.15 after Friday. Not too cheesy, huh?
It's not too bad. It's not too bad. And we've still got a couple of months, month and a half to go in the year. So that will maybe go higher. You never know.
And one of the things that we had a busy week in that sense that we sold 3 stocks and we bought 4 stocks last week. One of the ones that we're going to take a closer look, and you get, of course, the full benefits if you are a member, then you get the full benefits on our platform, that you get to see all the movements, plus you're being told by email and so forth. But we sold one that we're going to bring up, and that's Prismerian. And to those who don't know what kind of company it is, because it is maybe to some a bit of a surprise company.
It is. It's. I think we got a comment last week from someone saying they wouldn't have found these sort of companies because they're not on everyone's radar. This is a smallish company. I think they're about $1 billion. Something like that. 25 billion euros. Smallish in the US terms and the large cap companies in the EU, but they make power equipment for grids, for big transmission across, between sort of where the power is actually generated and where it's used, which these days is a big topic because everyone's talking about AI and the amount of energy that the data centers are generating, using, and require generating. I'll just do a 3-point playbook analysis on it, so we can show you sort of where we came in and where we came out. But this is one where we're quite. This is one of the reasons why we're smiling, because we had quite a good ride on this particular company. You can see here. So the 3-point playbook is basically asking 3 questions every time we want to look at a stock, and the first one is this a quality company? And you can see here, this platform makes it quite easy to actually work out whether this is a quality company or not. We give you a quality score, which is out of 100, the higher the better. This is 72, so it's in the top 28% of companies in this particular region, which is Europe. We've also got earnings per share, which is going up and up and up. The yellow is the analyst estimates for the next couple of years. So they're feeling quite rosy about this particular company. And thirdly, you've got the PEG ratio, which is actually showing you how much of this rise is baked into the price already. So anything below 2.5 is great. It shows there's gas in the tank. We can actually see the price rising because it hasn't actually got all of that value in there already. The other areas we look at are things like whether analysts have changed their minds on the stock, and they've actually been pretty rosy on it for the last 7 days, 30 days, and actually 90 days. They've been increasing their estimates. Lastly, we look at things like free cash flow, which is going up, which is great. We look at the returns that the company's doing and how efficiently they use the cash that's invested in there. That's not as good. They're more secondary effects. If everything else is green, then actually we're pretty happy on this. And also the interest coverage and the current ratio shows there's probably not too much of a debt issue there. So within, you get very quick at this. We can probably spot a good company within about 15, 20 seconds just looking at this page. So it gets pretty quick to spot these things. And then we move on to question 2. Is the stock undervalued? Because what we don't want to do is buy an undervalued stock. Now, we came in, so if I just move around these, I'm just going to set my worst case scenario, the red line here, just at the base where it hit the bottom sort of this year in April.
And this is one of the things, Liam, that people can do themselves, because the thing is there's an automatic laid in once you look up a stock, then you get an automatic.
Yeah, so the system tries to make its best guess, but actually it doesn't know whether it should be looking at this little bottom or this bottom or this top up here. So it can't do everything. So we give you a good start and to see whether whether the stock looks good or not, and then you can maneuver things around as you want. So if you're a bit more bullish on the stock and you think the highs from last year are probably where it could go, then you can put the green line up. I'm just putting it up here because it's recently hit there and come back down, which is one of the reasons why we sold it. So we can see we came in somewhere around here. We got a 35% increase. So we hit the stock around about here, around about where the analyst line is, and we rode it all the way to the top. It started curling down again and we sold it. But you can see here the value is still pretty good. It's still got 15.5% sort of is the lowest point we can see it coming down to next year. In our case, it could make 14%. So it's sort of a 1-to-1 risk reward, which we don't really like. We much prefer a 2-to-1 risk reward on there. But the green line shows that there is, if it performs really, really well, there is still quite a lot of room to go up. And you can see here, just on Goldit, you can see it broke the 50-day moving average. So Hans was looking at the black line with Novo just now. The green line here is the 50-day moving average, and this is one of the key trigger points that we look at, both from an entry point of view down here. We had a pretty much perfect entry in here down at this point and ride it all the way up. As soon as it breaks the 50-day meaningfully, we come out. We also look at things like our MTI indicator, which is red now in the daily. That gave us a bit of an indication last week that this was going to start going down.
And it might be a stock that we pop back into. It's not like if we sold the stock, then we're never ever going to look at it again. That's not one of the rules.
No, it's still a high quality stock. So it's if it comes down and we see measurable sort of increase or potential increase there, we'll just jump back into it.
We will keep you posted. Members will get the full knowledge. People who are not members and watching from AccessNAC or where else they can be watching from right now, well, we just have to look at the show and get the bits and pieces from here, or else go take a trial at our MyStockScanner.com and you will get the full info. And from Prismerian, which is in the grid industry. Let's get into the grind industry instead, because that's what's going on at this building in the US. They're grinding it out over there, figuring out if they have to or if they want to open the government over there. It's been shut down record long now. And Hans-Henrik, I'm going to come to you on this one because you've been following the news. You had something about it in your market scan, your piece that you put out every morning. Are we going to be open for business in the US, or where are we at?
Well, first of all, I'm not sure they're grinding. I think at least the Republicans are probably grinning right now instead, because I think they got the better deal here. It seems like they need 60 votes out of 100 in the Senate, and as you know, it's almost 44 days, however long it has taken. The entire system in the US is starting really to get in trouble here. They have the planes that are being cancelled. People aren't getting the SNAP, the food stamp benefits. So it's really starting to hurt the economy. Okay, something happened there. There we go. So of course everyone was interested in getting this started, but Democrats in the polls were showing that they had the upper hand. People were blaming the Republicans a bit more than they were blaming Democrats. So finally Democrats had some sort of a winning case. However, it seems like some of the Democrats have caved now and jumped over to the Republicans. So why? Well, first of all, if we look at, I found some, they were asking basically why did they choose to shift? And they basically all said lines like, I haven't seen since the pandemic, that is for the food banks. It was key to stopping that pain. They are all talking about that pain for their constituents. So basically, the Democrats said our voters are hurting. And that was the game. Trump have indicated that he wanted to put a lot of hurt on the Democrats. That seems to have worked. So right now, it will take some days before things open up. They need to have the vote finally in the Senate. Then it goes to the House. They need to have a vote, and everything has to get up and running. But let's hope for the American people that it can get going. It is something we have followed quite intensively. Not that a shutdown in itself is something that hurts massively, but we have never been out in this length before, so we have no idea what will happen to the economy from here on now.
One of the things that I know that Trump has also on mind is that he might send out a tariff, and he calls it a dividend check, from all the money that they are piling in from all over the world, and then send each and every American, apart from the rich ones, $2,000.
Don't get me started on that. That is absolutely insane. First of all, he will never get through with this. He wrote it out on True Social, and I don't know, an hour later, Besant were asked about it in an interview, and it was obvious he didn't like the idea. So he said something vague about, it might not be a check, it might be something with tax on tips or whatever. He knew what would happen. They have done it a couple of times before under COVID. They gave 3 stimulus checks out, one for $200, one for $600, and one for $1,400, and then some for the kids. That was overall, I don't know, $600-800 billion. This time, if he's going to give $2,000 out to, what are they, 350 million, and then there's some wealthy and some kids that might not get it. But let's say in rough numbers, it's $500-600 billion. You know what that will do? I can tell you. It will bump up the inflation. So right now they're lowering interest rates. They might start their QE, where the federal, the central bank are buying back bonds, so more liquidity runs out in the system. And if Trump then does this completely insane thing, that will just boost inflation a lot higher than it is now.
I'm going to ask you the impossible question, because if the government opens up going back in business and we get a check on top of it, what if you were in the market, what stocks would you be looking at really quickly?
Yes,
really quickly.
I would go for hype stock, meme stocks. All the shitty stocks that don't make any money but are all over Reddit and Facebook, to the moon kind of stock. All crypto, all that. Excuse me, shit. But that is where the $2,000 would go.
Tell us how you really feel about that.
I think he just did, Liam. I think he just did. Well, let's make it investable here towards the end of the show, in that sense that what I need to do is I basically need to get back on here and share the screen with the three of you, and we seem to after we got that tirade from Hans-Henrik, then we basically lost all our videos here. But
censored.
Exactly. But Liam, one stock that I want to touch on before we go, and that's IAG. It's on the British Stock Exchange, it's on the Spanish Stock Exchange, and I think it's in Austria as well, because it basically took one dive on Friday, 11.5% down. What happened? This is NVIDIA. I can see
This is NVIDIA. I've got AIG up here already. It basically came out and said the numbers were looking soft in the US. What that means is the revenues and potentially the profits that they're supposed to have got from the US in the next quarter or two, they're seeing a reduced amount. And what we find is that when we look at our valuation chart very quickly here, we can see, if I just move my blue line down a bit, we can see the analysts have an expectation that the PE ratio, which is the price divided by the earnings, is going to, or the price times earnings, is going to be 6.31. We think, in my estimate, I've got 5.3 as the middle number, the base case that we think is probably going to happen. 4.3 in the worst case if people really take a dislike to the company, and then in the best case 6.53. So that's what happened. What they did was they effectively reduced down their numbers. So if we put 0.6 in there, you can suddenly see this blue line taking a dive. And that's what happened. The numbers dropped, the PE ratio dropped as well, which is how much risk the investors want to take on, and the stock price dropped by 11.5%. Is the company a good one? Yeah, I mean, we've looked at it in the past. It's been the stock of the day, I think, last year sometime. We've got a quality score of 69. It was making losses during COVID, but it's come back to profitability. The PEG ratio is great. So actually, as a company, everything looks green. It looks pretty good. The valuation is the key thing here. Are the numbers going to be good enough to come out? And this has got the analysts worried. From a pure timing point of view, the stock dropped below its 50-day moving average, so we wouldn't actually even consider it until it went above there and got back into this groove of uptrend that we see. And yeah, I mean, a quality company, just not for us right now.
It's not for us right now, as Liam just said, and it is because we go through each and every stock asking the same questions as he just did. Is it a quality company? Is the timing right? And does it have an upside? That's the three questions all stocks are going through in our 3-point playbook. And you saw a little bit about the portfolio today, 31.15%. That's what we are up on the year. Before we go, remember that you can write us at FOMO@MyStockScanner.com. And I'm going to ask you two guys questions about the markets in general today, because if we do that, I would love to know if we keep having the IG on the screen right now. I think that Hans-Henrik has basically taken over.
Hey.
There we go. We have Liam.
That's better.
Yeah, that's much better. Let's go like this right here. At the end of the show, I promised myself that I'm going to ask you about the market in general. Hans-Henrik, I'm going to ask you, is the Danish market going to end up in positive today? That's an easy question. It's 1.13 up right now. Is it going to stick?
I think it's going to stick both for today and for the upcoming time if it follows the overall market. We have some indicators showing buyers are a bit more buyers than sellers right now. We saw that at the end last week. So I think the next couple of days could be green.
in that sense, if I look at the indices futures right now, it's definitely all green in the US. Basically, all the major exchanges looks like they're going to be up, and that's pre-market numbers, of course, because the market isn't open. And Liam, are we to trust pre-markets when we look at stocks and we can see that little number saying pre-market?
They generally follow a trend that they're okay. They're quite low volume, so they can be a very simple set of trades can actually throw it out, and they suddenly become less predictive. So, to be honest, we don't really follow the day-to-day anyway. We have our 3-point playbook. We look at the stocks. If they're good, we buy them. If they go down, we sell them. Nice and easy.
You can follow that portfolio that we have if you're a member on our platform, MyStockScanner.com. Liam, Hans-Henrik, and I are going to be back on Wednesday, noon, the same time as always. Until then, we will say happy investing, guys, and have a good Monday.